We're tracking the massive Dixie Fire, still threatening thousands as the heat ramps up. Plus, stories of survival, evacuees staying strong as they look toward recovery. And healthcare workers here at home rally against a new state mandate, the latest pandemic turmoil.
Covering Northern California, you're watching Action News Now. Coverage you can count on.
We're following breaking news. Firefighters working to get control of several buildings on fire in Oroville, possibly spreading into brush. This started after 4 this afternoon near Cherokee Road and Thompson Flat Cemetery Road. That's where we find Action News Now reporter Christian Lopez live. Christian, is this fire spreading?
Well, Haley, right now, this whole neighborhood is on edge right now. You can see the large plume of smoke over here. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I did speak with CAL FIRE. They did not tell me how big this fire was or if it's spreading, but they did tell me that multiple structures are on fire right now, and it's also threatening even more structures. And they also told me there's a vehicle on fire. You can see all of these neighbors out here who are watching this fire very closely. You can see that right there. I also hear some helicopters that have been flying overhead trying to get a handle on this fire. You can hear all of the fire personnel that are rushing to the scene right now. We are going to stay on scene and continue getting the latest information for you to see what direction the fire is spreading and how fast it's growing. I'm going to stay on here and continue bringing you the very latest. Reporting live in Oroville, Christian Lopez, Action News Now coverage you can count on.
Thanks, Christian. Stay safe out there. We're going to check back in with Christian soon as firefighters work to gain control of this situation. We'll bring you the latest information. The Dixie Fire finally seeming like it's holding steady, but still burning hot at about 489,000 acres. It's 21% contained. It is the second largest wildfire in state history. The Plumas County Sheriff says all 31 people missing in the Dixie Fire are now accounted for. At least 433 major buildings are destroyed. Things are looking better near Lake Almanor West, though, but there is still activity near Chester and in the Lassen National Forest, as well as around Greenville. Here's a live look now at those smoky skies in the area. Actually, right now, this is that Oroville fire. Let's check in, though, with Chief Meteorologist Jason Stiff. I know you're tracking both the fire burning in Oroville, and, of course, all eyes are on that Dixie Fire. Jason, what is it like outside? Yeah, thankfully in Oroville right now, the wind is a light breeze, only 6 miles an hour out of the south. So you could tell when we were showing you the live images from there that the smoke wasn't really traveling very far. It was mainly going up vertically, so that shouldn't spread too rapidly compared to other times when we've had much stronger wind. Now, looking at our other fires that are in the more wilderness type areas, especially in Trinity County, we still have a lot of fires burning, most of which are burning mainly on their eastern sides. We have a little bit more because we have a highly variable wind direction around most of our region, mostly less than 15 miles an hour, which is really good news. For the Antelope Fire, it's been a lot larger, but as you can see, we have fewer hot spots right now, mainly the southern and eastern sides. For the Dixie Fire, by far the largest of what we have going on right now. Still mainly over the northern side, we have a little bit. We've had a little bit of activity just to the north of Chester also, and then on the eastern flank of this fire, we have a little bit more on the western side that's closer to Lake Almanor, as well as the eastern side. But all that wind is thankfully less than 20 miles an hour. We've seen some wind gusts between 15 and 20, but the sustained wind upwards of 5 to 15 miles an hour. And you can see that with our larger reporting stations. Everyone with wind speed less than 10 miles an hour, which is really good to see. I'm tracking other changes with this wind, as well as the potential for some thunderstorms and other changes to our forecast. That coming up in just a few minutes. Thanks, Jason. The Dixie Fire forced hundreds of people in Greenville to run for their lives, many of them staying at shelters until they can return to see what's left. Action News Now reporter Tori Apodaca shows us how some are handling that wait.
The evacuees here had to get out of their homes as quickly as possible. One woman tells me that she only had enough time to grab 3 days worth of clothes, but she's been evacuated since the end of July.
In the beginning, it was really horrible. The winds, the smoke, and just the longer you stay here, you get a second wind. I'm on my third wind.
Marva Stewart left Twain as the Dixie Fire bore down. She took with her a few belongings and 2 dogs and went to the evacuation center in Quincy. Her home survived. but she can't imagine the devastation the community of Greenville is experiencing.
I don't even want to drive over there and see it. I've gotten a couple of fire maps, but I'm going to send them to my kids or my sisters. I'm not saving them. I don't want to remember this.
For now, she is remaining hopeful and can't wait for the day that she can finally drive back home. In Quincy, Tori Apodaca, Action News Now, coverage you can count on.
The LDS Mormon Church in Quincy is looking for donations to help people impacted by the fire. The church is open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Bellamy Lane. They're looking for clothes, hygiene, school and pet supplies. You can also donate money at Plumas Bank. For more information, head to actionnewsnow.com/links. The Meadow Valley Post Office is back open in Plumas County after the Dixie Fire forced it to shut down. Other Plumas County offices, though, remain closed. If you normally get your mail in Chester, go to Red Bluff Post Office. If you get your mail in Twain, Canyon Dam, Greenville, Crescent Mills, or Taylorsville, go to the post office in Quincy, and don't forget to bring your ID. The Monument Fire is now more than 53,000 acres and just 3% contained in Trinity County. You can see out today those smoky skies along the fire's eastern perimeter. One leading firefighter calling this the fastest moving fire he's seen in the area in 30 years. This map shows hot spots along nearly every edge of the fire. Crews are ramping up dozer and hand lines along Highway 299 to protect communities nearby. If you need a place to go, the American Red Cross opened an evacuation center at the Willow Creek Bible Church on Brannan Mountain Road in Willow Creek. If you can, bring prescription medications, clothes, toiletries, and baby items if you need them. Action News Now reporter Anna Torrea was in Junction City today, where people are packing up as this fire burns closer.
Firefighters continue to battle the Monument Fire, and behind me is Highway 299, where I've seen several fire engines head down this way. And for some people I spoke to here in Junction City, they're feeling on edge.
Because I'm here to help my friends, you know, I mean, it's horrid when you don't have anybody helping you and nobody comes around or whatever because they're all doing their own thing.
The Monument Fire forced Delvin Boughton to evacuate Big Bar. He came to his friend Paul's home in Junction City. The friend's prepping to make sure the home is safe.
A little stressful, just not knowing what's going on, not knowing if the fire's coming over the ridge in a minute. Or
you can imagine how we were frothing just trying to get things watered up, you know, with sprinklers and stuff around the barns, sheds, house.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
We got an hour
and about an hour and 20 minutes of sleep last night.
Sleep last night.
When you guys plan to leave, is it exactly when you see the smoke or the flames?
It's kind of a gut feeling.
You'll know when it's time to leave.
2 evacuation shelters are set up, one at Shasta College in Redding, the other at Mad River Grange in Blue Lake out in Humboldt County. Reporting in Junction City, Anna Torrea, Action News Now, coverage you can count on.
We have a full list of evacuation orders and warnings under our Fire Watch section at actionnewsnow.com. Today, the Mcfarland Fire in Trinity County is now 26% contained and more than 32,000 acres. The 6 injured firefighters are now all out of the hospital. Highway 36 east from Wildwood Road is back open. And while the fire is still burning on the west and eastern edges, the sheriff just dropped the evacuation order for Wildwood to a warning. Coming up at 5:30, we'll hear from the people finally back home today. People are allowed back home after a brush fire triggered an evacuation order north of Harley-Layton Road in Shasta County. CAL FIRE Shasta Trinity said they stopped the flames at about 2 acres. Deputies shut down Harley-Layton and Old Oregon trails. The city of Chico has $32.5 million to spend on housing for campfire recovery. This comes from federal disaster funds and means eligible developers can apply to build multifamily, affordable to lower income housing. The city put out a request for proposals, so send in your ideas by October 5th. Find the link at actionnewsnow.com. Tracking the pandemic impacts here in our area. The virus is still spreading as counties report a new rise in infections. 30 new cases in Shasta bring the total to 13,400. Tehama County reports 30 new cases, 8 new in Trinity, 12 new in Siskiyou County. Today in Chico, a group of healthcare workers rallied against the state's mandate that everyone in their field be fully vaccinated. Action News Now reporter Christian Lopez was at that protest. She shows us what the group is hoping for.
You can hear all the cheering going on here as dozens of people are protesting right next to Enloe Hospital. Cars are driving by, honking in support. Let me show you what it looks like out here. A lot of people holding up signs, some holding up flags, and the message is clear. They are protesting against California's vaccination mandate for healthcare workers.
This is the start of losing freedoms. It has nothing to do with being vaccinated or unvaccinated. We are Americans. We need to come together as Americans and say no to mandates, period.
Diane Kindred is a registered nurse at Orville Hospital. She was one of the protesters who gathered along the Esplanade Monday, upset about the state's vaccination mandate for healthcare workers.
All of us are on the same page, vaccinated and unvaccinated, because it's about American freedom. That's what this is about.
There are people at this protest from all across the region. It's not just healthcare workers, but also people who are supporting healthcare workers. And it is important to note that this protest is not directed towards Enloe Hospital. In a statement, Enloe told me they understand protests like Monday's are becoming more common, and they say they respect their employees' personal opinions on the topic.
What's next? What's next? Stand up and say no to any form of mandate.
And many people who came out to the event say that they plan to have many more protests just like these in the near future. They're going to keep fighting until their voices are heard. Reporting in Chico, Christian Lopez, Action News Now coverage you can count on.
Enloe says as an organization, they are bound by regulations set forth by agencies that govern healthcare in California. The Butte County Public Health Department declined to comment on the protest. Breaking today, Butte County Public Health Officer Dr. Robert Bernstein is retiring. He says in part, it's been an honor to serve during such stressful times for our community, our clinical partners, and public health policymakers. Dr. Bernstein's last day with the county is September 3rd. Also breaking today, Shasta County Supervisor Les Baugh says he will not run again for District 5. He says he will finish his term, then commit full-time to ministry. The supervisor says it's been an honor and pleasure to serve the community. Crews are making progress on one major wildfire. New at 5:30, we take you to Wildwood, where the sheriff just lifted an evacuation order. Plus, a small step forward in the homeless crisis as one nonprofit offers a way for some to clean up. And lawmakers are on the verge of a compromise on the best way to rebuild the nation's aging infrastructure. We show you what's next. The Senate could finally greenlight a $1.2 trillion infrastructure package as soon as tomorrow. Reporter Skylar Henry shows us why the bill is finally expected to pass with bipartisan support.
The Senate will come to order.
The Senate reconvened Monday, inching closer to final passage on a $1.2 trillion infrastructure package. It would include $550 billion in new spending for the nation's physical infrastructure, like roads, bridges, and broadband.
The bill will represent a substantial down payment towards the level of infrastructure investment our country needs. And for the first time, the Senate has come together around such a package in decades.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he expects to vote Tuesday morning, but the wrangling isn't necessarily over. Indiana Republican Senator Todd Young worked on the deal, but says he intends to vote against it, stating he's, quote, not yet comfortable with the current pay-fors in this legislation. Other Republicans are objecting altogether.
We were all told that this thing was completely paid for. Oops, not quite, but don't worry about the details. It's only $250 billion.
Once infrastructure clears the chamber, another major measure is waiting in the wings, a $3.5 trillion budget blueprint. That reconciliation bill would boost spending on health care, child and elder care, education, and climate change without Republican support.
They won't let Republicans have any say in this monstrosity, but they want our help raising their credit card to make it happen.
We plan to pay for this package by making the wealthy pay their fair share.
Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
In a memo, Senator Chuck Schumer told his Democratic colleagues they'll meet as a caucus the week of September 15th to review the bill. Happening now, the city of Chico is building a roundabout at Eaton Road and northbound Highway 99. The city says it will boost safety and cut traffic, But for now, expect a 2-month closure at the northbound on-ramp and nighttime closures of the off-ramp. The Eaton Highway crossing that heads east, that will be closed for about 3.5 months. One local school district kicked off the fall semester today with the option to mask or not. We'll show you how things are going. And we're still tracking the fire burning through buildings and brush in Oroville.
Well, thankfully, the wind in Oroville is not very strong right now, only 6 miles an hour out of the south, but we still have more fire danger area-wide. Hazy and hotter weather tomorrow. Not much wind, but the temperatures are going to get even hotter than they were today, from the lower mid-90s in the foothills to lower mid-100s in the valley. Details about other changes coming right after this.
And now, Action News Now Storm Tracker weather. Coverage you can count on.
Breaking news as we track the Dixie Fire. We've learned that Highway 70 on the east part of the Jarbo Gap all the way to the 89 junction has reopened for people who live in the area, but be very careful out there. There are still a lot of hazards and crews working. And we're taking a live look right now over smoky skies near that fire burning in Plumas County. Chief Meteorologist Jason Stiff is tracking conditions. Jason, it's pretty hot here. I can only imagine what crews are up against out there.
Yeah, they have a lot of heat. Thankfully, the wind isn't very strong. I was just checking out some of the most recent observations in the vicinity of the Dixie Fire. No wind gusts in excess of 20 miles an hour. It was between 15 and 19, and most other places have wind between 5 and 15 miles an hour. You probably also noticed if you live anywhere around the valley that the air quality is better than it was late last week. It's certainly not ideal. We'd call today a hazier day rather than a downright smoky day like we had Friday and Saturday. But for most of the area from Redding southward toward Chico, it's a moderate category to unhealthy for sensitive groups. Still worse, though, over the higher terrain. Not as bad as it has been in Trinity County, where we were heading deep into the hazardous level as we move into late last week. But thankfully, it is a little bit improved, but we still have lots of heat and lots of haze and smoke ahead. Or excessive heat watches for the Trinity County area. That from Wednesday afternoon through Thursday afternoon. Excessive heat warning for Siskiyou County from Tuesday through Saturday. A long duration heat event there. And we also have heat advisories out for eastern Siskiyou County and Modoc County for Wednesday through Friday. Current temperatures also pretty hot. 102 degrees right now in Redding, slightly higher than average. It's 89 degrees in Chester, 91 degrees in Paradise, and 97 degrees in Chico. It is warmer than yesterday. We've had a little bit less haze in the air. We also have a warming trend ahead. Temperatures between 3 and 6 degrees warmer around the valley right now. Very little cloud cover, though. As you can see, we have the smoke over Lassen, Plumas, and Modoc counties. Plenty of smoke for Trinity, as well as Siskiyou into Mendocino County, too. But no great chances for any wet weather for most of us. We're going to have a gradual increase in the cloud cover Tuesday afternoon, and then especially the latter half of this week with a slight chance. There are going to be isolated showers and storms, again, over the Sierra, the adjacent Cascade, or the adjacent foothills, as well as the plateau. A few more clouds by Wednesday afternoon, but you may not see them because that smoke is still going to be in the way. Speaking of which, here's your smoke tracker forecast. Not quite as smoky for the valley, as you'll notice, but still far from ideal. It's worse air quality for Trinity County, especially from the Dixie Fire southward and southeastward toward Reno, as well as Lake Tahoe. That's going to last through at least Wednesday, and we're still going to have plenty of smoke for the higher elevations, but just enough of a delta breeze is pushing into the valley to keep the air quality a little bit better. Again, not good, but at least not as bad as it was late last week. So here's the forecast for Tuesday. For the northern mountains, it's still going to be really smoky, but it will also be hotter. Highs from 97 to 102 degrees for northeastern California. Lots of 90s for highs tomorrow. Still very smoky, but thankfully not that windy. Lows will be comfortably cool in the 40s and lower 50s. For the ridge, it is still going to be pretty smoky the next several days. Overnight lows, mild. 60s and lower 70s with hotter highs than they were today. Upper 80s and lower to mid-90s on Tuesday afternoon. And for the valley, also hazy tonight and hazy tomorrow, but not quite as smoky as it has been. Lows seasonably mild in the 60s, and it's going to be higher than average tomorrow afternoon, hotter than today too, 103 to 105 degrees. And the Chico area, also widespread 60s for overnight lows. Highs tomorrow still hot for this time of year, 100 to 103 degrees by tomorrow afternoon. Next 7 days in Chico, fairly consistent, but there is a warming trend through Thursday and Friday with highs up to 103 degrees. We might not have advisories, but it's still going to be above average, and a better chance for some gusty wind at times next Monday. And for the Redding area, look at that, between 105 and 110 tomorrow through Saturday, cooling a little bit Sunday and Monday.
Thanks, Jason. People and their pets are back home after the river fire. We take you to the happy homecoming. Plus, Governor Newsome in the trenches today helping Caltrans clear a massive homeless camp, urging people off the streets and into shelters. And why the drought emergency could be changing the way you camp in 2 minutes. New today in the drought emergency, the Mendocino National Forest is cutting off water to the Eel River Campground in Cavello. The spring that supplies water here also goes to the Eel River Fire Station. The Forest Service says it's drying up. If you're planning a trip, bring plenty of your own water when you head out. We're tracking the still burning Dixie Fire as hundreds wait to go home. Plus, one local school district giving the campus the choice, mask or non-mask. We'll show you the first day back. And new at 5:30, evacuees return home today as crews gain ground on one major wildfire. We take you to Wildwood and share that story.
Covering Northern California, you're watching Action News Now. Coverage you can count on.
We continue to follow that breaking news. Firefighters making good progress on the fire burning in Oroville right now. Action News Now reporter Christian Lopez is live near Cherokee Road and Thompson Flat Cemetery Road. Christian, how many buildings have burned so far?
We still don't know exactly how many buildings have burned, but CAL FIRE says that multiple structures and at least one vehicle has been destroyed. I'm going to step aside and show you what it looks like. You can hear the helicopter that's flying overhead right now. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see some of the damage that this fire caused. Right there, you can see crews still working to get some of the flames out. CAL FIRE says that they are making good progress on this fire right now, and they still don't know exactly how large this fire is, or how many structures have burned, or if it's threatening any structures at this time anymore. You can see the fire engines right there as well. Now, they also told me that some power lines came down when this fire started, and there are no injuries reported at this time. CAL FIRE is also still working to figure out exactly what caused the fire. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see they are battling this fire in the air and on the ground as well. We're going to stay out here and continue monitoring this situation for you so we can bring you the very latest. Reporting live in Oroville, Christian Lopez, Action News Now coverage you can count on.
Thanks, Christian. We're going to check back in out there in Oroville as firefighters continue to gain control. Action News Now is on fire watch this evening. The Monument Fire in Trinity County is now more than 53,000 acres and 3% contained. Take a look. You can see smoky skies today as the fires, this is along the fire's eastern perimeter. Plenty of crews working out there. And one firefighter just called this fast-moving fire the fastest he's seen in the area in about 30 years. This map here shows hot spots along all of the edges. For the most part, every edge still showing some heat. Crews are amping up dozer lines and hand lines along Highway 299, especially to protect communities nearby. The Dixie Fire is holding steady at about 489,000 acres. It is 21% contained. It is the second largest wildfire in California history, roughly the size of Houston. It scorched at least 430 major buildings, plus about 250 outbuildings. Things are looking a little bit better around the west shore of Lake Almanor. Westwood still looking okay, but you can see some activity still near Chester, near the Lassen National Forest, as well as around Greenville. Here's a live look at the smoke over Plumas County. Meteorologist Patrick Wright is in the Storm Tracker Weather Center now. Patrick, what are the conditions like out there for firefighters?
Well, the good news is the winds are not kicking up too much for most of the area, so it is light and variable around most of the fires, so that is not impacting the fires too much. However, it is still hot, so that will impact performance in terms of how the firefighters can fight the fires. Now, looking at the active fires around the region right now, we're zooming in to Trinity County. We do have a lot of activity for some of these fires, especially the Monument Fire, where it's on all sides of this fire. Just a few down spots here on the northern hump right here, but all in all, it is spreading in mostly all directions. But towards the north, we have the Haypress and Summer Fire still spreading in some all directions. Though the Antelope Fire is seeing a little bit of a resurgence in some of its growth towards the south, but all in all, that is still remaining fairly calm over the last 24 hours. But the Dixie Fire fire still growing, especially towards the northeastern side of the fire, and then also starting to curl towards around Lake Almanor, but farther away from the shoreline. But then we also have this little spigot coming up in the direction of Susanville. However, it is still a distance away from the city at this moment, but we are still watching that spread, especially towards the southeastern side of the fire. But zooming in, though, just a little bit, you can look a little more at where this is going. Do we have a little more activity towards the northern side of this bottom spigot on the north flank, there. However, winds are calm for some areas in the north, just a light wind, especially right around to the mountains, so that is good. So a lot of the wind is based on topography right now, but the relative humidity, it's still fairly low across most of our area, so that will hinder things because it'll keep things crispy, and we're only getting hotter in the next couple of days. Jason will have the details on that coming up.
Thanks, Patrick. Today, the Mcfarland Fire in Trinity County is now 26% contained in more than 32,000 acres. It's damaged at least 2 buildings and injured 6 firefighters. However, they are all out of the hospital and doing okay. Highway 36 east from Wildwood Road is back open, and while the fire is still burning on the west and eastern edges, the sheriff just dropped the evacuation order for Wildwood on the north to a warning. People can return home, but the sheriff is urging caution. Action News Now reporter Ryan Caney shares their stories of relief.
Skies have cleared in Wildwood near the Mcfarland Fire as people ordered to evacuate can now return under the evacuation warning. Some people decided to stay in Wildwood despite the evacuation order. Former firefighter Thomas Hauk prepared his home to weather the fire, but got an unexpected surprise when a small rain cloud passed over.
And I even got rained on really hard to where I was soaked to the bone, and I got hail. I had hail the size of marbles start to hit me, and it's hit me on my head, and I had to run for cover.
CAL FIRE wants to make sure that the danger of the still active fire is not lost on people returning to Wildwood.
We want residents and people traveling in the area to still be cautious that conditions could change. Right now we know that residents have, wanted to go back and check on their belongings, their homes, and be there, but there still is a threat. There still is fire in the area.
One person that stayed behind during the evacuation order told me he's just glad that the winds were in his favor. In Wildwood, Ryan Caney, Action News Now, coverage you can count on.
All evacuation orders, warnings, and shelter information for these wildfires, they're on our website, actionnewsnow.com/links. United Way wants to raise $2 million for wildfire survivors. Donations will go to help people from Doyle, destroyed by the Sugar Fire, and Greenville, of course. Find a link to donate on actionnewsnow.com or text NorCal Fire to 91999, or you can mail a check. The pandemic still affecting students and teachers on the very first day of school. Orland Unified School District is giving everyone the option of wearing masks or not. This is in line with the California Department of Public Health, which allows schools to decide how to enforce masking protocols. Today on campus at Orland High, it was a mix.
Some of them have worn it the whole period, but it's really half and half. Some are wearing it, some are not. And again, the best I can do is just say, hey, if you'd like to, we'd like for you to have it on as well.
I'll wear it whenever teachers require it mainly, but most of the time I don't wear it.
The superintendent says they have upgraded HVAC systems. They're planning more outdoor instruction and providing plexiglass desk barriers for teachers that ask for them. An offer of help in the homeless crisis, showers and laundry for anybody who wants to clean up. Nonprofit Haven of Hope on Wheels set up shop at the Chico shelter site located near the airport today. Workers say this was the first time they've been out there, and they hope to do so more often. Many say the service was a big relief. We asked them what it's been like staying at the city-funded temporary resting site.
It stays pretty cool over here, but we usually ride around the car to stay cool. Other than the heat, everything, the people are nice. We have a lot of families out here. They all just we communicate, and the kids hang out and stuff, so it's pretty peaceful.
The airport site has no running water, so visitors say the showers were a great help. Organizers say a few families with school-aged children also came out today. Haven of Hope on Wheels also serves the Oroville, Paradise, and Concow areas. Today in Alameda County, Governor Newsome visited a homeless camp where Caltrans is removing debris, and as you can see, he got his hands dirty as well. Outreach workers were also there trying to get people to move out of tents and into safer, more stable shelter and housing.
What you see here is unacceptable. We had a big fire here. This is life safety risk, public health risk. I mean, there are quite literally hundreds and hundreds of rats running around. People should not live in conditions like this.
Hundreds of rats out there. Newsome says Caltrans has cleaned up about 200 camps like this in the last few months. He says the new budget includes $1 billion for these cleanups.